DC senior Washington correspondent Hallie Jackson. Now, Hallie, good morning to you. So as Ryan just reported there, the Republicans and Democrats are not even talking right now. No end in sight. Any indication at this point what could move the needle and how long this shutdown could last?
Well, let's talk timing, Craig. Let's start there because, as Ryan points out, not much indication that the Senate will make any moves. The House isn't even back until early next week. Longest shutdown ever was 34 days. So be thinking somewhere in the range of between a few days from now, maybe a month. Who knows? It could be longer. What could move the needle? Here's a couple of metrics to watch. First, paycheck strain, right? Bank accounts. When federal workers start to miss paydays, could we see some of those workers or their families showing up at food bank lines, for example, like we saw back in 2019? The longer this goes, the worse it could get for those folks. Second, take a look at the markets. They don't like uncertainty, right? Wall Street doesn't have those key economic indicators to be looking for. They're not going to see a jobs report, for example, while the government is shut down. How does that play into any political pressure that may build on the building just down the street there at the Capitol? And then third, think about poll numbers and approval ratings. When do those start to move? When does this start to affect more Americans more broadly? Does one party or the other start to take a hit? Does the president start to take a hit on his approval ratings? That could help build that pressure, too, and maybe move the needle at some point down the road, Craig.
Hallie, I mean, to that point in the blame game, we're already seeing the fingers pointing at the other. Give us some real talk here. I mean, the Republicans are saying, oh, the Democrats want to fund health care for people who are undocumented and here illegally. And the Democrats are saying, oh, no, Republicans want to take away your health care. So like, what's the truth of the matter?
Right. The Democrats say that's not true. That's not actually what they would want to do. Here's the thing. These health care subsidies don't actually expire until the end of the year. Democrats say, listen, we've got to get something done now. I had one top Democrats say to me, this is a moment of leverage right now. They also see this as a moment of crisis since warnings could start going out on premiums potentially going up. Republicans are saying we'll negotiate that down the road, but let's keep the government open and do that in what's called regular order. Democrats don't buy that. That's what's at the heart of the shutdown fight. What could be different this shutdown? Think about the threat of mass federal worker firings, Savannah. That is different from what we've seen before. That could potentially be a big deal. Remember, most federal workers don't actually live in the D.C. area here. You also look at the 2019 shutdown. That was a partial shutdown, so a little bit different than what we're seeing now. I've had some folks say to me, the better comparison may actually be 2013. That's when you had, right after an election year, you had the other party facing pressure from their base. Back then it was the Tea Party. Now it's the progressive left. Savannah.
Our senior Washington correspondent.